Brad, we're excited to have you here on the podcast today. My name's Dan, and I've also got Shane here today too. Brad, will you just give us a little bit of an intro about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so Brad Parker, originally from Florida, moved out here to Utah about 10 years ago. But I think my initial career started in the boat business, and then I got into tech, and I've been in tech for a little while. Was actually in tech in the yachting industry. We were like the LegalZoom and DocuSign of medium to large yachts, and so that was an interesting journey. And then today, run PrivateAuto. So we're like the Venmo of private vehicle sales. We make it easy to buy and sell cars privately, do the bill of sale, do any dollar transaction right in the parking lot, even on weekends and holidays.
And that's huge. I saw a little video that you guys had put out about how you can do transactions on weekends and holidays. And I always buy cars private party. Like, I hate dealerships. So every time I've done that, I've actually had a moment where it was a Friday afternoon. I was trying to sell a car and I had to wait till Monday, buyer bailed, and then I had to go find a new buyer. And it was just kind of a nightmare. So when I watched that video, I was like, this is a really cool product.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Coming from Florida to Utah, though, that
it's quite the jump.
The weather.
It took me about 4 years to get used to the cold.
Yeah.
It took a while. I never thought I could live away from the ocean. Even being in the boat business, I used to be like, so we would do customer trips. I would even I used to take customers to the Bahamas for 2-3 weeks in the summer.
Yeah.
Take them diving, fishing, island hopping in their boats. And then, so I did, anyway, move into the mountains. I never thought I could live away from the ocean, but the mountains have grown on me. It's beautiful out here. It's been great for the family too.
Yeah. So you're like a Florida native though. Yes. Like, you're born and raised in Florida.
Right.
That's
so my
awesome.
family, a couple of my brothers still there. My parents still there. Yeah.
Okay. So
get back fairly often to visit.
So what made the jump to come to Utah then from where you were at?
So at that point in my life, I was, so I started it was a family boat business, and I was running one of our dealerships in Daytona Beach.
Okay.
And actually, yeah, so this is one of those personal stories where at that point I started Yacht Closer, which was the tech company. That whole transition right there, my father actually expected me to take over the family business. I kind of realized through this journey that it wasn't for me.
Yeah, there's more out there.
I wasn't passionate about it. It was a grind, the retail grind, and we did well, but it was a grind. And I kind of realized that this wasn't the job that I wanted for my family. And at that time I was kind of dabbling with software. And anyway, kind of fast forward a little bit, decided to really jump in, both feet into a software business and just take a risk starting my own venture. But really the move to Utah was one of those ones that just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I had already got some investment into the yachting business. We had already started, growing.
And Utah's a landlocked state, first of all. So you're in the boating business.
Not a lot of yacht sales in Utah.
I think you need to be kind of close to the ocean.
No, I mean, honestly, I think, through my journey, I think, two of the pillars for me has been, and I think everybody needs something. They need some kind of rock to hold on to. For me, it's been faith and family. Those are the two that I think give me the drive to get through anything in life. And I think the transition from Florida to Utah was one of those decisions that it did not make sense on the surface.
Yeah.
But we felt that it was the right thing for the family. My wife and I, and even our kids, 3 little kids at the time, felt that that was what we were supposed to do, even though it didn't really make sense. I even had investors that were pretty upset, like, hey, we just invested in this company for the yachting industry.
And you're going
and you're moving to Utah?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
And so, but anyway, the story played out well. So
wow,
it still all worked out.
So in yachting, the software company that you owned was pretty much DocuSign and bill of sale for yachts, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And financing too?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was, which was kind of preparatory to get me to what we were able to do today. But yeah, so it was like prior to this, that whole industry was paper, print, scan, and fax. So, you know, and bigger yachts sell like real estate. So it's, you know, and there's like broker in the middle, and there's all a different series of contracts, offer agreements, listing agreements, acceptances.
Yeah.
But it was all paper, print, scan, and fax. So we basically brought it all, you know, to the cloud, and then bolted on a bunch of, you know, workflow and pieces to it. And then, yeah, we eventually had finance, insurance, warranty, and we had a title agency where we did all the registrations on the boats and yachts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Especially, I think, for high net worth individuals that you were dealing with, I think probably they appreciated the ease of transaction at that point. I'm sure, kind of coming in and disrupting at least that space just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think this was another lesson for me. I think it was, I realized that most of the best ideas are within 5 feet of your daily routine. So that whole business model was, so I used to desk the deals at the dealership. And then I helped start a yacht brokerage business for our family business. But it was the biggest pain point at my desk. You know, doing the dealership deals, there was some software for that. Even, you know, may not have been great, but there was software for that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing for this segment of the industry. And it was the biggest pain point for my day, desking the deals and doing all the paperwork. So anyway, that's where there was. It was a pain point within 5 feet of my desk every day.
And you just knew, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, and so I think selfishly, I started the business, like, I was like, oh, I got to figure this out. I mean, I started out with like PDFs to talk to each other, and like, you know, all kinds of little tools just to kind of like try to accelerate it. Then I was like, oh man, I need to get some developers on this. Like, we got to create something. And then as I looked around the industry, you know, there was nothing. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe other people need this. Yeah. There was no fancy business plan. There was no market research. I was just solving my own problem.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just, like you said, like it's within 5 feet of your own, you know, your own area that you're in, or your own workspace. And that's where those best ideas come from, because you're solving a problem for yourself. And hopefully that also means other people have the problem. And then you discovered that, hey, like there's really nothing else out there like this. Let's go for it.
I feel like it takes a certain type of person, though, to want to look outside the box like that, even though it is right in front of our faces. And usually it comes from a place of, I don't want to do the same thing over and over and over again for the rest of my life. At least I know that's how it was for me. I just thought, I still get critiqued for being like, man, why do you turn everything into a new business opportunity?
I know better than most people about your ideas, so I can testify to that.
But I think that may speak to your situation of, you know, you were working for your dad's dealership. Is that, how many dealerships were there under that umbrella?
We had 2 locations, one in Orlando, one in Daytona Beach.
And you ran one of them,
Beach.
right?
Yeah.
So the goal was, or your dad's goal was for you to take over that dealership, that both dealerships, the whole business, family business. So what was it? I mean, that's a setup for a great career, right? What was it that pulled you away from that, or wanted to pull you away from that?
That's a good question. I really became so passionate about technology. I mean, that was a time, I mean, now I'm going back to like 2006, 2007, 8, you know, even when like apps on the App Store like just started coming out. It was like back when everybody was like, when a new app came out, like everybody was on it, checking it out. Yeah. And so I think I became fascinated with technology. And I think in a way too, within, you know, I consider myself more of like an entrepreneur. You know, when I was there, it was like always finding ways to like, why do we do it that way? Especially in a family dealership where like you have a lot of the same people. They've been doing it the same way for, you know, 20, 30 years.
And they're afraid to offend each other because they're family.
Well, yeah, but that, you know, and so especially when and I give a lot of credit to my dad. I mean, I think if I was in his place, would I have put as much trust as he did in me? And I'm like, gosh, like I love him for that. It's amazing how much trust he put in me to run that dealership at, I think I was 28 when I took over that dealership.
And those are hard-hitting people that you work
Well,
with.
yeah. No,
You're dealing with a lot of money, a lot of
but prior
responsibility.
to that, I mean, like, you know, I give him credit too, because like I had to go work somewhere else for 2 years before working for the family business. And even when I came back to work for the family business, I was just in sales, and it was 90+% commission. So you had to, you
really
had to
had to
earn your
grind.
keep. And my pay was no different than anybody else.
Right.
I had to sell. And so fortunately I did pretty well at that, proved myself. And so I earned a lot of respect from the team, you know, to even go into that role.
Yeah.
But I think it was always the drive to, wait a minute, there's got to be a better way. Like, why do we do it that way? Some days I would go camp out in the parts department and just watch paper flow, watch phone calls, watch what they do after stuff. And it's like, whoa, like, wait a minute, why do we do it that way?
Yeah. There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, that's interesting. And then really, I think the best ideas come from 100% watching, right?
Yeah.
Like just experiencing what's going on in the business and other people's businesses, and then figuring out ways to just solve that. And I think it seems like the entrepreneurship within your own, you know, your own family's company, like led to everything else and helped you explore, you know, every aspect of what you were going to turn what eventually came PrivateAuto into.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So when it comes to this initial technology that you built, the software that you built and got investment in, you grew that for how many years were you working on that?
We started building it in like 2010, made some mistakes, you know, we you know, 1 step forward, 2 step back. I mean, all that stuff that, you know, people go through when they try to start a business, especially in software. And all developers are the best, and you don't know they're not the best until you've spent a lot of money or wasted a lot of time.
Oh man, that's good. That's good.
That's a good one-liner. That's very, very true.
So
it's very true.
There may be some that are offended by that, but that's just the way, and it's hard. You know,
Yeah.
someone has an idea and they want to get a developer, but anyway, yeah. So I forget. Where
Yeah, no, we were just asking, like, so you started this boat kind of financing company, got into this software piece of your business.
And you started
how long did you
2010?
run
Yeah, so we started building in 2010. We went live in 2012.
Okay. So 2 years, you got investment in your first before that?
I honestly really only got a couple checks.
Okay.
My main investor was somebody that I sold a bunch of boats to.
Yeah,
nice.
I was gonna say you're networking with probably all of your investors when you're selling, so you got a really good network,
which was a cool, you know, experience in of itself. It's and I didn't know any. I never like. Here in like Silicon Slopes, it's like you've got all the proper pitch decks and fundraising. It's like I didn't know any of that stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
but
it's
you
just
did
like
know people.
I just invited them to go like have some tacos at some hole in the wall Mexican restaurant and just, you know, just share the idea with no pitch, no presentation, no nothing. And at the end of the day, he's just like, I like it.
Let's
you know?
do it.
Let's do
That's
it.
awesome. That's epic.
And there we went. You know,
That's so cool.
And yeah, he was our main investor, and off we went, and really that, and there was a couple other checks that we got, but yeah, we bootstrapped the business, and it was one of those where, yeah, no, I was road warrior. I mean, I think the first 400 accounts I signed up personally.
Wow.
And just hitting East Coast, West Coast, Eastern Seaboard, you know, hitting all the brokerage companies, and it was a grind.
So yeah, to talk a little bit about yacht sales and how that's prepared you to get to where you are today, because closing those first 400 deals and working with dealerships primarily, is that who you'd approach?
And
Or
brokers.
The brokers.
the brokers.
The brokers, because they're the ones with both ends.
These are tough people, right? Like I would assume that a broker or somebody in the yacht industry or boating industry would not be hard to work with, but hard to convince. So was coming from that industry, being a 28-year-old doing sales for your dad's yacht company or boat company? Was it
boats? Yeah,
boats.
more pleasure boats and
Pleasure boats.
Yeah.
So what did you learn about sales along the way that you think made you successful at closing those first 400 deals?
Well, a couple of things. I think even managing the dealership and managing people, I became fascinated with like personality profiles and understanding personalities. I'm still learning that today and still trying to understand people better and learn how I can work with people better. But I think that was one of the main contributors. The second one for that industry, it is such a tight-knit niche industry.
Yeah.
Had I been some software company that came flying in and was like, "Hey, I got some new solution for this industry," heck no, you're not going to get any traction with some of these brokers. But fortunately, our family name and being in the business and being in Florida, I've done a bunch of deals with a lot of these bigger brokerage houses. It was a game of strategy in the beginning. It's, there's some people that I knew where I could just call them up instantly and be like, "Hey, will you check this out for me and give me some feedback?" Yeah, come on down, and then I knew if like, okay, if I get you three on board, then I can get you three. If I get you, then I can get you six.
It was all about who you knew.
That's
sure.
right.
Yeah.
And then when you go to the next one, it's like, "Oh, did you hear? Oh yeah, so and so. Yeah, they jumped on board last month, and oh yeah, so and so." And then I just start name dropping.
Yep.
And then because then it's a game of like, "Oh, well, so and so's doing that. I better do it."
Yeah, of course.
And so that's kind of how I got the initial momentum.
Oh, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
400 accounts.
Classic sales guy. Classic sales guy.
That's the pest control guy that comes around, saying, your neighbor.
But I think this was more, well, here's the other difference too. I was an industry insider.
Yeah, you
I knew the business. So it wasn't, I wasn't coming in blowing smoke on anybody.
Yeah.
No.
And they got that right away. They knew that I understood their business. I understood their pain points. And I think that's the difference. I mean, sometimes I've helped out with some of the entrepreneur groups at like the colleges out here. And whenever someone's like, I've got this great idea for this like industry way over here that I have never worked in. I have no like insider knowledge with.
Yeah.
I have never personally felt the pains in it. It's like, I don't think that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Go work in the industry and keep working on your idea.
Yeah.
That's very similar. I mean, with when we started doing white label, it's why we did white label is because we understood the pain points. Like we totally knew it, and it made it so much easier to sell it and to deliver because you could touch on those exact things that were going to make a difference.
And connect with your audience. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very easy for us to approach our leads and say, "We know that you struggle with this because we used to spend thousands and thousands a month with agencies and get poor results, and we hated every second of it. It was never transparent,
It's never
so
good.
we learned that same thing with you in the boating industry of, I know that it's all facts and paper and phone calls, and that I'm sitting there watching all day back and forth. These papers move, and that helps a lot. So really, I think something very valuable from that is once you were able to get a seat at the table, you brought immediate value and they understood that you had something of value, right? That was kind of the concept. You just knew the first step was to get in front of their face.
Yeah.
And it takes years of experience to gain that confidence. I would think, right? I guess, how do you feel like you gain that confidence to be able to pitch these ideas to these people and make a difference?
I mean, it's everything. It's an evolution of like just your journey. So had I not, had a chance to, run a dealership or be, ingrained in the business, know the brokerage side, know the retail side, there's no way I'd be able to, I wouldn't even thought to even start a software company like that.
Yeah.
Having not immersed myself in that industry and really understood the pain points, and then to be able to talk to those customers, having gone through those pain points myself, I can instantly relate and connect with them.
Did you ever have people in the software industry? Because as you started to grow this, did you ever have people in the software industry almost take a similar approach to you, saying, "Hey man, like you came from boats, like don't try and build this. We could build something better. Like stay in your lane." Did that ever happen?
As far as PrivateAuto?
Yeah, any big people coming in PrivateAuto or in software in general say like, "Hey, don't try and jump into our category."
No, I mean, no, that hasn't happened. I think there's probably people that maybe think that, but no.
Yeah.
But I think that's because of the background with what we did. I think it gave us a unique perspective to do something different in the auto industry
Yeah.
that they never saw.
Yeah.
Because most of the companies trying to do what we do right now were designed by car people, and they set
They're
up
designed
the
by
business.
dealerships.
They're designed by dealerships, and really the services going after the private sale, all they are just set up like a traditional F&I office.
Mm.
And there's people behind the scenes moving money, doing paperwork, but you can't scale that in a 10 million, unit plus volume private sale market.
Yeah. So let's get into that a little bit because my background, I used to work for KSL.com before starting this.
I worked to sell their Deseret digital media stuff.
I worked in advertising in classifieds and rec vehicle, but I didn't work in cars.
Mhm.
Cars was this huge department.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good, there was a lot of bad
Yeah.
that came through it. So I'm interested explain, because we got a lot of people from Utah that will listen to this. Explain the difference between PrivateAuto and KSL Cars, because there are a few very specific things that you guys do differently.
Yeah, so KSL and dozens of other out there, all they do is
Marketplaces.
advertise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just a
they
marketplace.
put pictures on a website, and it's a way for buyers to say hello. That's it. There's no more functionality beyond that. PrivateAuto is the first company that you can actually list. You can negotiate with it's basically everything after that. So when you go to meet up with that person to verify their identity and make sure you're not dealing with scammers, and then you can actually do the bill of sale right on your phone. And the significant piece that we created, we're more of a fintech. We look like a marketplace on the surface, but we are more of a fintech because technically we're probably the only company that I can think of right now that I could go meet you on a Saturday evening at 5 p.m. or something and do a deal for $10, $20, $50, $100,000 on whatever car in the parking lot, and you legally take custody of those funds in that very second.
And who's processing that loan? Is it you guys that process the loan?
So two different things. So there's just so if I have the money and I want to buy your car,
cash.
Yeah, that's right. It's
just to
basically
be able to
chat,
transfer those funds, you can't do that today outside of banking hours.
Yeah.
Even during banking hours, so if I would call the threshold maybe our sweet spot would be everything over $10,000. If you're buying something for under 10 grand, or I'm sorry, under $5,000, use Cash App, use Venmo, use a payment app. You're fine.
Yeah.
Some people may bring cash to the table, but even that's not very safe, up to maybe 10 grand.
They're not going to drop a...
That's right. It's not safe for buyer or seller to
do
roll
that.
up with a bunch of cash like that. But it's at like 10 grand and above. That's when it's like, all right, like, well, what do we do now? Like, okay, we go to your bank and we go meet up, or, even today, cashier's checks, there's a lot of fraud with that.
Yep.
And so, going back to pain point within 5 feet, it was after exiting my the yachting software company. I was buying a car for my son. I bought a 2007 Toyota FJ Cruiser. I met the guy at
what a
Smith's.
great car.
Yeah, it's a super good car.
He was stoked. It was,
I'm sure.
And met the guy in like a Smith's parking lot at it was like 8 or 9 p.m. at night.
I've lived this same experience so many times.
I've sold my car the same way.
And I think it was like 14 grand, but it was like, okay, we wanted it. Oh, cool. We did a little test drive in the parking lot there. And then it was just like, okay, well, then we had to like kind of, anyway, it didn't work to meet the next day. And then we had to wait till the following, to go meet up at the bank and then kind of do the transfer right at the bank.
Yeah.
And that's where it was like, okay, knowing what I know now from what we did before and workflows, transactions, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
If I want what you have and you have title in hand, I want to buy it right now. You can take an Uber home. I'm going to take your car and I'm out.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome.
That's what you can do with PrivateAuto.
Yeah, that is so cool.
That's
so
super cool.
Yeah, if they don't have the title in hand, do things get trickier if they have a loan on the car?
Yeah, so we don't solve for that. We do solve one scenario of that right now. The good news within the private sale market, if you kind of look at the different layers, there's probably about 8 to 10 million private sales that happen a year. Within that, like a good chunk of those, people do have title in hand. Even
Yeah.
as you look at classic cars that, you know, people typically have title in hand, and a lot of those are cash deals.
Yeah.
Where you may not be financing some of those older cars that are over 10 years old or something like that. So there's like millions of cars where, okay, like we have an instant solution for it right out of the gate. We already have financing that we're doing behind the scenes. We haven't started marketing that yet, but we're going to revolutionize, you know, how you even finance a privately purchased car. But in that scenario, our banking partner will pay off the loan, send the proceeds to the bank to get access to the title, and then any proceeds would go to the seller directly in that transaction.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
That is
And that,
really
yeah,
cool.
and I was gonna say that's the biggest pain point for I think most people for at least that have a loan out on the vehicle, you know.
Yeah, I think one thing that I learned working at KSL.com was they had a lot of problems in the car space. One would be that, and I had a friend have this issue just this past week. He's selling his car on KSL right now, and he gets a lot of dealers that message him and offer him undervalue for his car.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I thought was really interesting about Private Auto is you have vetted sellers and buyers. So I know that if I go and post there, I'm not going to have dealerships reaching out to me and lowballing me on my car, right?
Yeah. I mean, hey, could a dealer go in under a personal name or whatever and reach out to you? They could,
Yeah.
you know. But we do deter and get rid of the scammers out of the gate. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like you and I both had experiences.
It's a
Every
problem.
time I put a car on a marketplace or, you know, like KSL, it's like the first 5 people that reach out to me are scammers.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing that I hated about that too was like, they got my cell phone number. It's like, it always bugged me.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about Private Auto. You don't share your personal contact information with anybody. And so you're communicating through the app, and you don't have to share any of that with the other party.
How did the marketing approach come up for Private Auto? Because you started this company based off of this idea. And actually before that question, how did you get this going? Like you had this idea for Private Auto, you were still doing your yacht business, right?
No, I exited.
exited.
Well, we got acquired in 2017.
Okay.
And then I stayed on board with the company that acquired us through early 2020.
Oh, okay.
And then that's when, you know, I exited there. And then, yeah, so, but I've been thinking about the private sale for quite a bit.
Yeah.
And always been on my mind. And then it was after I bought, you know, the car for my son, then it was just like, then it was real again. It
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, like
It's time.
there's got to be a way to solve this. So in the beginning, I kind of flew solo for the first year.
Because are you a developer yourself? You know?
Oh, no. I don't know
Okay.
a thing. I'm the idea guy. I'm the guy that frustrates the
You're
developers.
the architect.
Guys, I got
Yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
The developer's nightmare.
So you flew solo on this idea though. And how did you get this idea going solo?
Well, I think it was more exploratory,
Okay.
you know, is what I was doing in the beginning. Because I hired a dev shop and because the piece about the money movement, nothing else mattered until we solved the piece about the money movement. It was at that time too, I looked around like, why has no one else done this? And I went and like investigated, like, how does Venmo work? What is the nuts and bolts behind the scenes? Like, how does the money move? What are the regulations? What are the red tape? And so I kind of like did a deep dive through all that stuff. And then anyway, long story short, I came to the conclusion that, oh, wait a minute. I think I figured out a way how this has to work. And it would require a custom banking integration with a traditional bank.
Yeah.
And so anyway, kind of hired a dev shop to really start focusing on that, because if we couldn't really develop that technology, then nothing else mattered, because everything else is nice to have.
And it
ID
was just like
verification.
It was just like another marketplace, really.
That's
The
right.
finance stuff made you stand apart.
Yeah. No, just the movement of money, being able to move high dollars instantly, any day, anytime. You know, which was the hard part.
So you, at this point, you were still, you were kind of doing whatever you wanted, right? Exploring your next option, or were you
Yeah.
still on board?
No, I
I
was
you were-
now kind of just like
looking for the next
in
opportunity.
limbo in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a lot of time to
That's
think.
when the best ideas come. That's when the best
You have to
execution
have time to
happens.
do that.
Yeah.
I like
Well,
that.
I think another thing too,
Goals.
I'm guilty of dabbling in crypto quite a bit too. I'm a little
Yeah.
bit of a crypto nut on the side. And so I think understanding how blockchain works and how movement of money there is so instant, so fast.
Yep.
And there's enough security in place where it can be safe. That's what frustrated me about the traditional USD rails, where that doesn't exist in USD. In time, it will exist. Everything will be on the blockchain.
Yeah.
But right now it's not. So that there was a void in like doing deals in USD instant on the spot.
And I saw something. Do you accept cryptocurrency on your
As
platform?
payment.
Yeah,
payment?
so it doesn't actually go through our platform. It's more, in that case, it's more aligning buyer and seller interest. So if I'm a seller and I say, yeah, you like, here's my car, I'll take private auto pay, I'll take, Bitcoin or whatever. And if a buyer comes along and is like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, no, I'll do Bitcoin, then we can just use our normal wallets to just do that transaction. You would still use private auto to negotiate, confirm the deal, the VIN, the price, you'd sign the bill of sale. But then when it gets to the payment piece, because we both elected, to like, oh, we're just going to do this, Bitcoin, then it'll prompt both of us like, hey, go ahead and use your wallets and do that right now. Because you can also choose to do like split payment. You could say like, hey, we're going to use 80% private auto pay, but then the last $1,000, like, hey, I'll just do it in Bitcoin or whatever. And so you can choose to do that, and it'll trigger private auto pay for the 80%, and then it'll say, okay, hey, you guys do the remaining balance and then confirm when you're done.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
wow.
really, really cool. How did you, I guess, go to market with this? Did you release an MVP style product first, like in 2020 and 2021, or did you just wait to have like the full thing developed and then launched it?
Well, two things, maybe to address your marketing question. So I'm glad I listened to somebody a lot smarter than me.
That's our goal with
and,
this.
and I started a content plan back almost when the idea started.
Very cool.
We started having, writers develop content and just laser focus. And I had, just some SEO experts go and like analyze long tail keywords and that there was all these like long tail keywords that the big players weren't focused on. Yeah. And so we just laser focused on those, like how to sell my car in Utah privately, how to buy a car from a private seller, how to transfer money in a private sale. So we just started building a castle around all these long tail keywords. And that just became a process that we'd pump out, 10 to 20 articles a month. We were pretty heavy on it in the beginning. So once again, hoping that this whole product's going to work out.
For sure.
We were then like building the product in parallel. And then I think once we got the product to, once there was really a light at the end of the tunnel, and it was at the point where, oh my gosh, I need some help. So then it was, all right, let's bring the squad back together. So my CTO who worked with me before, he came on board. Another, my current CPO, she worked with me, before, and there's a few other people on the team that worked with me before that we eventually kind of came back together and then got started.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I mean, and you've had some, I think Shane and I were just watching some of those videos that you have on your website and on LinkedIn and stuff. How has, I guess, video become an important piece to market private auto?
Yeah, the video's been fun. So we've embraced video quite a bit, and we've pumped out a lot of videos. Yeah. Not all of them have been on LinkedIn, but a lot of them are for our paid, social channels. Mm-hmm. And so whether it be Instagram or Facebook, or we've done a little bit of TikTok, but our main, success has been in Facebook, Instagram. But the videos have been great to really bring to life the pain points.
For sure.
And to try to resonate with like, just the real pain points that people deal with, and they're like, oh yeah, like if we can spark that emotion,
Yeah.
it's like success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Totally. Oh yeah. Like I feel like I would need that, or I needed that like a month ago, and now I'll remember next time.
yeah.
To use Private Auto. I thought I saw a video you did. You were actually in the car. It was probably like a friend of yours or something, and you
It was a
literally were,
Porsche. Yeah.
you were literally going through the whole process with him, and you were sharing. I just thought it was really cool. I was like, you're sharing the actual app, obviously at the same time that you're doing the transaction. It was a cool way to just see it in use. I immediately understood what you were doing.
Yeah, that was
So-
actually the first deal, and that was and so that was a legit.
Oh, cool.
That was a legit real deal.
Oh, that's
Really?
awesome.
And so I started that one on I just solicited it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I started there saying like, hey, we want to test out. I want to be the first one to test out our software. Who has something to
sell.
buy? Yeah, to sell. And Alex, who responded, he had that sweet 911 Carrera S.
Did you buy
Porsche.
it?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's
no,
awesome.
that was a real deal right there on the
That
spot.
is epic.
Wow.
That's
It,
awesome.
it was like one of those deals too, where it was like the true MVP of the product, and
For sure.
And I don't know, like the real behind the scenes of a software company. It's like, oh man, you're scrambling. You're like, everyone's like hoping
hoping
like there's no
everything
bugs,
works.
and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like hoping it works.
Everyone's sweating bullets in the back. Film it.
No, I mean we do a lot of. There's been lots of testing, but still, it's like that first real deal. But no,
Yeah.
it was. That was a legit deal and a high
That
dollar
is-
deal. It
that's
was in the
awesome.
one of the parking lots up there in the Traverse Mountain. So
Oh my gosh. See, that's
That's
so
really
cool.
cool.
It's cool that it was in a parking lot and happened that fast too.
yeah,
I was going to mention
And that it was you that was actually you that bought it.
I
Is
drove it for
even-
like 4 or
yeah.
5 months. Yeah,
That's
Wow.
that's totally epic. I was like, if you're not running that as an ad, you should.
Yeah.
Because it's cool. That's a really cool
But-
story.
we had watched some of the explainer videos too, and when you were bringing up that video, I thought that first video, even though what was that filmed on? A phone, or was it filmed on an actual camera?
Yeah, no. Hemi, our video guy, he's awesome, by the way. He was literally balled up in the back
I
of
was
that
gonna say about
911.
911,
And he had
'cause
his
it's so tiny.
he
tiny
was
interior.
balled up back there, just
Wow.
like getting the shot.
But
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
it just makes me think high production isn't always necessary for some of the best content that we get, right?
People just want real, raw, like authentic
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, they want to
Yeah.
understand how the product works, and these explainer videos are very helpful. And you have the actor and the actress there that do a great job.
Yeah.
But I thought that main video and now to know that was you buying it just is phenomenal. We're gonna
Yeah.
link that in the show notes, so that'll be
cool.
really cool.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
just
So,
amazing.
Where
I was gonna say part of that too wasn't really like for the show of the vehicle, but it was more. I think the point of me picking that vehicle was that deal was impossible before PrivateAuto.
100%.
That deal was impossible. You don't show
Yeah.
up in a parking lot and decide to buy something at that price tag
Yeah.
in the moment. I mean, that's like you can't call your bank and say, "Hey, can you just instantly wire money to so and so at this point?" Or and here's their info. You can't do that.
No.
Yeah.
You can't buy something like that. But now you can with PrivateAuto.
And that's amazing. I feel like there's use cases even outside of auto for this in the long term. I don't know if you guys have considered ever expanding in that direction.
I
but
was
I'm
going to
like,
say,
we will,
yeah,
yeah.
what's next for PrivateAuto? You've added in this finance piece. Is there any things that you're seeking out in the future?
I think from a matter of focus, we'll be focused on auto out of the gate and even down the road a little bit more. But we'll be all titled vehicles, ATV, RV, motorcycle. We're going to go back into boats.
Yeah.
So we'll hit all those verticals.
Very
well,
cool.
being in the wreck vehicle space, I mean,
Especially in Utah. It's a huge
Yeah.
deal. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, in the Mountain West, wreck vehicles. I think probably in Florida too. I think big wreck vehicle area. Same with the Midwest, I guess. But in the United States, wreck vehicles are a huge deal. Sold
Yeah.
privately.
Most of those are
them.
sold privately.
yeah. That's amazing. So with PrivateAuto, how did you guys acquire your first 100 customers versus your next 1,000?
So really, that's when it was interesting to see how the content strategy and an SEO strategy started playing out at the right time. So, I mean, anyway, we started building organic traffic. I think we were already at around maybe 15, 20,000, visitors to our site a month.
Was it all blog at the time?
All blog.
All blog.
Yeah.
It's just
Hadn't released the
knowledge-based.
product yet.
No, we had like a website
Really
with general
interesting.
info, but no product was live. So I think maybe we were 15 to 20,000 unique visitors at that point. So we were already building an audience before we had a product. And I think that's one of the mistakes a lot of companies make today. They kind of like put all this effort into building a product and going live, and then they just start taking, paid media. I mean, it's like taking a bag of cash and chucking it on a fire. You get a little lift, but then it's gone.
It's gone.
It's just gone instantly.
Mhm.
And so, then we brought in the paid media strategy. So we kind of created a foundation, created a base of some organic traffic. And we continued the efforts that we did there, and we continue to this day. But now you strategically start seeing what works, what doesn't, what people like, what content. Then we wrap our paid media strategy around the knowledge that we already have based on how people are interacting with our content.
And instead of cash on the fire, it becomes gas on the fire.
That's right. And then, obviously you need to do the paid media strategy and do the paid search, paid social. But now we have a clearer vision as to where that money needs to be directed based on what we've already learned from the people visiting and consuming our content.
That's really, really interesting. And I mean, we've seen it play out with a lot of our clients that have built like a massive organic following and then just launch products that their audience wants.
Yeah.
Like it works every single time, like without fail. And I think it's a really good lesson. And it's interesting because, Scroll, we've built our base on paid, and now we're jumping into organic and building our own brand, right? So we've kind of done the opposite, but we've seen, it works both ways. There's two ways to go about it, but I think there's a lot of value by starting with that organic base.
Yeah.
Because you learn so much without burning as much cash.
Yes. Because that's the other thing. Like today, I think, right now, I think we're at about maybe 80,000 visitors a month just from our organic content.
That's amazing.
And then if you just, what's the equivalent of that in paid?
A lot of money.
Depending on where you're
thousands of dollars.
Well, no, you could be, that could cost you 40, 50 grand, to generate that same traffic in paid.
Yeah.
What startup can afford that?
Yeah.
What's that going to do to your burn rate, your runway?
Yeah, no kidding.
And so I think it's key to survival, really having a strategic content plan with any business.
And now content has become so much easier too. Like my wife launched a business and she used to have me write all of her essays in college, and I didn't graduate from college because she just can't get 6 pages out in a decent amount of time. It's really hard for her. So ChatGPT comes out and she can say, now I can write content, and she literally uses it the way I believe it should be used, which is I want this to have my voice, but I need help getting
enhance it.
Yeah,
the nuts and bolts, the foundation. Yeah,
right.
100%.
So cool to hear that. And you're the second person much smarter than me to tell me that approach is a good approach. In this week, we had Jay Davis on, and he's the founder of Pillow Cube and Creatively. And he brought up the same thing, that building that content base, specifically newsletter, blog, up front, can provide so much value. So I think that that's so profound, because when we started Scroll, we were just 2 dumb kids. And I mean, he was a smart kid.
We're still kind of 2 dumb kids.
But he was smart. We were 1 dumb kid, 1 smart kid. But and we didn't know what we were doing. So we just called a bunch of people out of, Hometown Values magazines.
You've seen those Val packs?
Oh, yeah.
We just started calling those people. And we were like, hey, how's this working for you, basically? And we obviously were testing the market. Yeah. We really wanted to say, like, is this working for you? Well, we've got a better solution. It's digital marketing. Let's get you out of the mailers and let's get you into stuff that's actually trackable.
Yeah.
But we would have done it completely different if we were to start today. I mean, we threw hundreds of thousands of dollars at paid media, and it has turned into good results for us. But man, if we would have built backwards and said, hey, let's build with this organic content plan first, we'd be leaps and bounds ahead of where we are. So I think that's great advice to young entrepreneurs and just people trying to start something.
And don't make the mistake. Like, we toyed around with organic and the idea of it for a very long time and just never did it.
Yeah.
You know, we just never did it. We got
hence this podcast. That's why we're doing it now.
It's harder than you think. As you already know.
Yep.
You know, it's sometimes with, I don't know, like sometimes like I immerse myself at the beginning of every new like department, you know, so for example, content, really trying to more so to learn it, understand it. I want to understand what like what's happening, what should happen. And then eventually you get the right people to fill in and really take over and run it. But especially with the content, like I'm just so grateful for, you know, learning from other people and where if I did it myself, I would have been like, oh, let's go after like used car for sale. Like, you know, these big monster key names that
Utah,
all the big
car
players.
sales.
That's right. But then it's like, no. Go way down here. Go after the ones that are only generating like 200, 500, you know, searches a month, and go after like hundreds of those. And then you like build up a castle. And then once you like, you're an authority on the topic,
then go after
after the big key names, and you actually get those key names fast. Once you already have that authority. So it's like, it's cool now to see it actually play out. Cause like there's new stuff that we inject into the, you know, on Google today that it's only a matter of weeks, and it's like, it's bubbling
right
up fast.
Wow. To compete against. And are you nationwide right now?
Yeah.
Did you start in a certain geographical area to test it, or did you go
nationwide? Yes and no. I mean, in terms of a marketing, yes, we started just in Utah from a marketing perspective.
So all the blog content was targeted towards like
no blog content was always national, kind of from day one. We like had a plan, like the amount of content that we would have per state, and replicated it.
That's
with
cool.
all of them, and then have a number of kind of like national, universal, you know, pieces that aren't, you know, state specific.
Yeah. We're SEO guys. I get the silo.
I know
we're siloing everything off.
The way you explain it, I'm like, you sound like 20 calls we've had with our bigger customers where we say, this is the approach. And you're saying that exact approach. So it's so cool to hear that that's worked so well for you.
Yeah.
We have a couple food bloggers that we work with, and it's the same situation, right? If they go take a certain long tail keyword, for example, like 50 best birthday cake designs.
Yeah.
Who knows? It has 20,000 searches, and nobody's focusing on it because they all want like
birthday cake designs.
That's right.
You know, or whatever. So it's very, I mean, we've done the same thing with Six Sisters stuff is probably the one you're thinking about, but now, you know, they rank for hundreds of thousands of keywords, get, you know, a couple million hits a month. And now we're going after the big boys. We're going after, you know, All Kitchen's amazing. Some of these bigger, you know, people that get 50 million plus searches a month because they only go after the head terms. But anyways,
so first couple hundred customers then came from all the organic blogs that you guys did.
Yeah. And I think some of the LinkedIn stuff that we did get like a little bit, you know, it got some good reach.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Was that all organic LinkedIn that you were doing?
Yeah. No, we didn't do any paid LinkedIn.
Amazing to see what LinkedIn can do for businesses.
Oh yeah.
It's
huge.
It was really helpful. So the first batch of customers came from that. And then really, I would say we try to keep it simple. And so for example, 2022, we launched in the summer of 2022.
Oh, wow. Fresh then. Yeah.
No, we're new.
Wow.
And so our 2022 is all about traffic awareness. And so honestly, didn't care about listings, didn't care about like conversions from that point of view. And not everybody's buying and selling privately.
Yeah.
It's more like, and so we were just hitting the awareness gas pedal, and our focus, that was our one rally point. So when it came to decisions on how to spend, where to spend, did it create traffic? That was all we cared about. And I think as a business, our goal was I would much rather build an audience. I'd rather be fishing out of a stocked fishing pond than be sitting in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with a piece of bread, you know, waiting a week or a month for someone to come test it out.
Yeah.
that's what we did. That's why we focused on traffic first. Now come January 1, all right, now we're focused on reducing customer acquisition costs. We're focused on conversions. And so now it's all a game of product pricing. All you're doing is tweaking and to see what's converting. And so that's been fun. That's where we're at, today. We're making little tweaks and then seeing the immediate impact of that because we have enough people coming to the site to test fast.
Yeah, that's interesting. We were just talking about this, like building a basically massive audience and then converting the audience. Like it just makes way more sense in the long term. And you get it's the user feedback piece is huge, because otherwise, like if you're in the middle of the ocean with this little tiny piece of bread, right? What are you going to have a great white like come up and like basically just snatch you up, and then you don't get a test, you don't get all these other,
and the feedback from that one bite may not be the best.
Exactly. But I'd rather, you'd rather get all of that feedback and then create something or then make the tweaks that are necessary to get the conversions, right?
Well, and I think it prevents you from wasting money too. So for example, when I look at, I think we're around 150,000 unique visitors to our site right now, including paid and organic. So when I look at that, it's like, wait a minute, like we don't need to be putting the gas pedal. If we can't figure this out based off of that much traffic, then we are not going to be successful at 1 million views or 2 million views. We're not going to be successful. So now all of our focus is dialing in conversions based off of the existing traffic. Once we get that dialed in, all right, now let's double down on the paid. But until then, there's no reason to spend more money on marketing at all.
Yeah, I think that's such a good way to word it, because we try and overcomplicate things so much in business. And that to me just reminded me of growing up. I was a musician, and I think it's a very similar pattern where I got the opportunity to go and play at the Gateway in Salt Lake before City Creek existed.
Cool.
And
busking.
I would go, I'd open my guitar case and set up a little system, and I'd start playing. And if you gather an audience, then obviously you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you open the guitar case. If they put in money, you're doing something really right.
Yeah.
So then maybe think about putting a CD out there in the future that they could buy too, right? I think marketing and business can be overcomplicated, and sometimes data can ruin your vision. But when you look at it simply and just say, if I was standing in a room and I pitched this and an audience gathered, right? Then now what's the next step? Okay, should I start selling CDs to this audience? So I think that's a great thing to consider.
Who's
Start
gonna want
simple.
more?
Start simple and grow up from there, because there's no point in wasting the time to make something super complex.
Yeah.
If no one's gonna bite it.
Yeah.
Or if your audience is too niche that it's not worth the time and effort.
Yeah.
And I think that is it comes down to with content. You guys have chosen to focus on content first, and there's an opportunity cost there 100%, because you spend the time and effort into the content, and definitely money. Maybe you're not burning it as fast with paid, but you're definitely spending time and money into organic content.
Yeah.
100%.
No, it's expensive. But I think even developing just I don't know, I kind of just use the word flow a lot. If there's any point in the business where someone is like, oh, I need help, or I need okay, well, who does this next or whatever? It's like, you don't have flow. If the ability to go from idea to execution without anybody in the middle needing that it stops for any reason, waiting for this to get approved or that, you have a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Your
so
business
good.
internally needs to be just as scalable as what you're trying to do on the external for your customer. It's almost like, in my mind, that's like, I love that strategy of it too. It's almost just as important, just as exciting and fulfilling for me to know that I can do something with 0 people or 1 person that you rest of the companies there in Lehigh take 10, 20, and 50 people to do. Gives
Very
me
cool.
satisfaction.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, totally. Especially here. It's so competitive here.
Well, and the fact that tech has been overstaffed for so long.
I think so many people they think to throw people at pain points before stopping and innovating. And sometimes that's the problem with having too much money.
Yeah.
So if you get too much, VC funds or whatever it is, the first thing a lot of people do is put people at pain points.
Yeah.
Oh, we need this department. We need all these people. We need more people to carry my golf clubs.
Basically.
But sometimes it's like, wait a minute, stop. Like, what tools could we use off the shelf without having to develop it ourselves that are simple, scalable, low cost, that would actually connect this, and this, and or it would solve that pain point right there, or we can automate X amount of our process using this. It's like, how many times do people just stop and like analyze it that way? I think that side of it is really exciting for me. I love new tools that like just alleviate pain points. But there's so many cool tools nowadays that just streamline the back end of a startup.
Yeah.
This is an exciting time to start a business. It is so much easier to start a business nowadays than it used to be.
I believe it.
With tools that take care of HR, admin, accounting and so many different functions where, you needed people for it before.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like turnkey.
Well, I saw your face light up when you brought up Chat GPT, and I was like, "Oh, I bet Brad here is an epic user of Chat GPT."
I dabbled with it. My son uses it a lot, but
yeah, it's a pretty cool tool. I mean, it's definitely going to revolutionize digital marketing. That's for sure. And they just released GPT-4, which is like 10x better than GPT-3. So pretty cool.
I mean, you always have people that are kind of anti some of the new stuff when it comes out, or, this, that. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, how can I think the way I look at it is okay, that's cool. How can I embrace it to accelerate what I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may not be 100% applicable, like Chat GPT. It's like, okay, are there SEO people that are going to be scared it's going to take away their job? I don't think so. I think it's going to be an accelerator for their business, for them that you still need finesse, you still need strategy. You still need, some of that, human intervention that kind of goes on top of it, but you can use that to create, the core of what you need, and then, accelerate your content flow with the right people and strategy.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
Our copywriter freaked out when I sent her Chat GPT,
in a really good way. Like it was like basically she's like, "Oh my gosh, I literally can do 10x the output."
Yeah.
That would have a blog post that would have taken me with research like 2 hours. I can now put it out in half an hour or even 20 minutes, and it's good. Yeah, it's good content. It's not like, it's basically, anyway, it's just really cool. It's been able to, AI should enhance like your current workflow. Yes. It should give everything you need to like exponentially increase what you're able to do. At least I think the way it should be used. Yeah. If you're using it to replace something, or maybe replace people, I don't think in the long term it'll be a good replacement in some industries for people.
Yeah, agreed.
Unless we give them brains, hearts, and organs.
We give the robots brains. I love it.
But one thing that you said about new tools and how you love them, when we first started to make some money with Scroll, we thought, oh, we should look into softwares that could help us. And very quickly, it was $2,500 a month in software, and then $5,000 a month in software, and now we're to a point where we love to look at software and say, okay, wait, are we paying for 3 softwares where one of them does these other 2 tasks really well? And I actually find that pretty fun too. And we've been playing around with that a lot lately. So
and nowadays there's so many like the new kids on the block, these new little upcoming software companies that are a fraction of the cost. They actually have a better user interface. I mean, there's lots of legacy software out there, so be careful about hiring some of these people from the big tech companies that are used to using their legacy software. And then they want to, embrace that within your startup. No, out. There's so many like low cost, high value tools that do just as much or more as some of these, legacy software out there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
Well, Brad, I guess to pull it all back to, and maybe wrap up the episode today, what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs, young people that want to start and maybe their own agency, maybe it's their own startup? What are the pieces from your story that you feel would be really valuable for them to start their businesses?
Yeah, good question. I think, jump in, just jump in and jump in an industry, jump in a particular vertical that you think you like, and really find what you're passionate about. I think that's one of the things. In the beginning, I thought like, oh my gosh, I have to learn all this stuff. No, like if I started over again, I'd be like, I'd find my swim lane and then I'd double down on my superpower. Find the strengths that you're good at, double down on it, and then surround yourself with the people who complement, the areas or the strengths that you need to do your business. But I mean, I think that's one thing. Find your superpower, double down on it. But you kind of have to get your hands dirty, jump into an industry, find the pain points that are close to you, that you can experience firsthand. And then, and I think the other thing too is, actually there's a saying in my family, we use it quite often: focus and finish.
I love that.
And, with even just taking out the trash, it's like squirrel, it's like, just take out the trash, focus and finish.
That was me.
But I think it's, but it's so applicable in business. I think, it is the road between idea and execution is a very, very long road. And if you don't have the passion, the persistence to just focus and finish that journey, there's no way you're going to, cross that finish line. So anyway, those are just some things I think about a lot, and even have to remind myself all the time. Like, all right, Brad, get back on track. Like, no. Don't get distracted by those shiny objects over there. Like, you got to nail this first before you open door 2, 3, and 4. And until you get momentum right here, don't even think about opening up those other doors.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And I think that's a fantastic way to finish today. Focus and finish. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I think that to me, that just is everything that I think but can't put into words. And so we're just very grateful that we've been able to have you on, because to us, it's like consulting. We feel like we learn so much, and that concept to me is like, wow, you just put so simply something that I feel like I struggle so much with, which is that idea to execution. And a lot of times I'll sit down with people or go to lunch with people that have ideas, and I'm like, cool, do something, and then let's actually go to lunch and have a serious conversation about this. But you just simplified it into 3 words, idea to execution,
what's
and
gonna
it
happen,
blows
Brad,
my mind.
We're trying to create a mural in our office. It's now literally going to be these 2 words: focus and finish. And then we'll have you come sign it. Okay, we'll have you come in, and we're gonna have Brad just sign his name on it.
Yeah.
I love that.
No, it's harder. You're in marketing world. You're all over the place.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
Very true.
Yeah, but no, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
It means the world. Send us an invoice for the consulting.
Yeah, right.
It's awesome. And yeah, we don't really have an exit, but this is a good time for you to kind of plug yourself and plug your business. So where can people find you? Where can people find PrivateAuto? Who's it a good fit for?
Yeah, no. So PrivateAuto.com. We make it easy to, we're like the Venmo of private vehicle sales. We make it easy to do that transaction in the parking lot, sign the bill of sale, and transfer funds all on your phone. The cool thing is it's 100% tech driven, and you can do it between 2 people and not have anyone outside telling you what to do. And so anyway, PrivateAuto.com. It's easy to list. And actually the other thing too, we're the first marketplace that exists that you can pay later. So you can actually list your car and only choose to pay the fee if your car sells. The reason why is we're the only marketplace that actually has a transactional portal.
Interesting.
So check it out.
I like it.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool. And where can people find you? Where are you?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
on
LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best place.
Yeah.
But so LinkedIn, simple.
Awesome.
Great. Well, thanks for
Brad.
coming on. Really
All right.
appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.